Hey, everybody, you're going to want to listen all the way through this episode because we are talking about Saturday Night Live turning 50. Old news? I don't think so. We got some highlights to talk about and a bunch more.
You're also going to find out how Janet Jackson and Madonna are similar. Don't get mad. It's a really cool comparison. Thanks so much and enjoy the show, everyone.
Oh, hey, and welcome to the past.
Yeah.
We're happy to be here and zigzag to the future with 90's now. And thank you for finding us and joining us for the ride. We have got a good amount to get to because one of the Backstreet Boys is apologizing, and we'll tell you why. It's sort of silly, but all good. And it's a bit of a surface scratcher on a whole bunch more that'll take us back to not only our favorite decade, but some of the great boy bands from that time. Also, Saturday Night Live celebrated its 50th anniversary, as it should have, with many different occasions. And finally, a big show that went live on a Sunday night. So we'll talk about that. We've got Kelly's Trivia that will challenge you in ways usually reserved for Mensa applicants. And their members. And your 90's rewind will take us right back to around this time in the middle of our favorite decade. Maybe then we were also fretting over the amount of snow that we got in 1995. We got a lot of snow where we are right now.
Yeah, here in Montreal, when I was on the air yesterday, they were saying around 70 centimeters.
Yeah, over the course of 4 days total. And normally in Montreal, for the month of February, it's common to get 50 for the month.
Yeah.
So we got way more than that over the course of 4 days.
Yeah.
Super happy about it.
I actually am. You're not.
Well, you know what? No. I'm fine with it. I love the look of it. I love the snowbanks being like super high. I don't love the idea that the snow removal project will take over a week to complete. And in the meantime, will be problematic for a lot of people. I don't like the fact that the snow has closed my back door. Like I just thought, okay, it's windy and stuff, and like I shovel my backyard because of my small dog who requires, some pathway to the fresh air. It's all gone.
Yeah.
Like I know where the path exists, but you wouldn't know to look at my backyard, and you'd have to look at that backyard through the window because, as I said, the snow drifted up to the house and has closed the door. So not just my back door, but the gate. So I can't access it. I tried. I tried. The snow came up to my bottom. And I realized, wow, if you're walking through this, it's probably the same amount of snow on the other side of this gate. You're not getting in.
Yeah.
So that was super fun. And the fact that it feels like minus 26 degrees is a bit much. But other than that, I love it. I love the weather.
But question for you with regards to the back door, like you are going to get into it, right? You're going to have to as a safety backup to get out of the house.
Yes, I have envisioned myself also in the case of an emergency, just barreling through the front door.
Okay.
I can get out of my garage also, my garage door. But yeah, it's supposed to be a little bit milder in the next couple of days, and I will make that a project because who wouldn't do that? Who wouldn't want to do that with their weekend time? I wouldn't want it.
Yeah, no.
That's who, me. Anyways,
I'm going four-wheeling, so I'm very excited.
That is cool.
Yeah, because we have had over the last several winters, it hasn't been amazing. Like the trails closed early last year, like all that stuff.
Right.
And now they're like legit highways, because they get groomed by like a grooming team that is similar to like grooming of a ski mountain,
Yeah.
And so my hope is to get out there hopefully in the next couple of days and zoom it out.
Well, that is the great news for the skiers and snowboarders and four-wheelers that they're saying for the ski hills, and we have quite a few to choose from in our area.
Yeah.
Or at least within an hour of our area, that they'll get an extended season because of these two huge, significant storms. So I am happy about that. Like, it's just the work I don't want to do.
Yeah. Soon,
There, I said it.
soon you'll be done, Sharon. A good few hours, and I'm sure you'll have that back door open.
See you in March.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, there, I've confessed something, and I didn't do it on a dance floor, but I think that, if, a self-respecting fan of Madonna would confess anything, it would be on the dance floor. So, there has been some word about how she might be doing that again. So let's start there, Kel.
Yeah, super excited on Valentine's Day, which recently passed us by. She dropped a note on her social media causing quite the stir, quite the ruckus, where she said that she has been working diligently over the last X amount of time with all of her heart and soul, I believe were her words,
Yes.
new music. And there had been rumors, I had told you actually before we started recording the show, for several months that something was going on, that she had started to work again with Stuart Price, who did Confessions with her back in 2005. And that seems to be the case. She's basically confirmed that her and Stuart have been working. And then she kind of put something to the effect of hashtag Confessions Part Two. So this is amazing news. That album was obviously such a great album for her. It had hit songs like Hung Up and Sorry. And then she went out on tour the next year after that. And it was a very good tour from what I understand, especially because the Confessions album, if you remember, Sharon, was like almost mixed as if a DJ was doing it. It was like continuous.
Yes.
And I remember when we actually recently had DJ Tracy Young on the show with us, like on the Kelly Alexander show. She talked about how that was one of her favorite tours because being a DJ, to go see that and watch how the show was continuous, mixing into each song almost like as if a DJ was doing it. So this could be very big for her fans wanting that type of genre back.
Well, maybe the release of the first one takes us back 20 years. So maybe by the time they're finished doing that, she did commit to releasing something in 2025. Maybe it'll be exactly 20 years later to the release date of the original, which was beginning of November.
Yeah, I feel like if she's talking about it now, there's a chance we could get it, for the summer. I hope they would because, if it's dance music to club like music, that's perfect time that you want it out in the summer when people are, going outside and hitting clubs and all that sort of good stuff. So,
Yeah, it makes complete sense. I love what she said about um, she said the last few months had been medicine for her soul.
mm,
That songwriting and making music is the one area where I don't need to ask anyone for their permission. I'm so excited to share it with you. Who wants to hear new music in 2025? Oh, we do.
yeah.
So that's very exciting. I like that. I like that, you know, we're talking about Madonna, like gigantic superstar with, a 40 plus year career. And yet she humanizes herself rather simply by saying, this is the one area of my life where I don't have to ask permission. So she's still a person in the world who has to, get in and around stuff. And she admits it. So I like that uh, she can tap into the artist side of herself and share that with a post.
And what's interesting too, just with regards to her work ethic and the fact that, because we just saw her last year with the Celebration tour, which obviously was a monumental undertaking,
Yeah.
especially if she had been sick the year before, like
Near
almost
death.
near death in 2023. And so she would have every right to just chill for as long as she wanted. But because I think of who she is as this artist that needs to create, she didn't take long because if she's already saying in her social media posts that she's been working for months, she's only been off tour for X amount of months.
Yeah.
So it's really great to see her back at it. And it's funny because actually, I didn't mention to this, but I'll mention this to you now, Sharon. I was very fortunate recently to do an interview with Janet Jackson's choreographer, Dean Lee, which, by the way, if you're watching this now, if you're listening to this now, that interview will have dropped just like the same day as this, at least on the audio version of the podcast of 90's Now. The video version, it will have been out since Friday. But it was interesting because Janet is pushing 59 years old. And he said, like, what an amazing, shape she's in. And he basically said to us in the interview, I don't want to spoil too much of it, but that she is as intoned that she's having so much fun being out performing for her fans that she will continue to do it as long as possible. And that's where I think there's similarities between her and Madonna. Like it's like they don't have a choice. Like they
Hmm.
have to express themselves, excuse the pun. And
Hey, hey.
Exactly. And I think they have no choice. They need to create, they need to be out with their fans. And I think for all of us who are vintage fans of these two, this is amazing.
Agreed. I am with you.
Yeah. By the way, Tina Landon joined us for that interview. So if people would love to listen to Janet's former choreographer, Tina Landon, speaking to her current choreographer, Dean Anthony Lee, it was actually, I felt very privileged to have the two of them on screen together because it was so cool to hear them compare notes in a way of like
Yeah,
what it was like to work with Janet back, 30 years ago. And now what it's like to work with her today. And again, Janet comes out looking like a rock star as per usual, because
right.
say the word consistency.
Nice.
Yeah. So it was really insightful. So if you have a chance to watch it, listen to it. It's on the Kelly Alexander Show.
That's so cool. Again, we've talked about this before, but the fact that you have pretty easy access to Tina Landon, who's become a friend to you and you to her, yeah, like, I don't know, 14, 15-year-old Kelly is got to be bursting, you know?
Yeah, which is really cute
Still.
too, is she texted us as of our recording right now, Sharon. Uh, it was just yesterday where that crazy plane accident happened in Toronto.
Whoa.
Yeah, which was ridiculous. And it was so sweet because Tina texted me a couple hours after it happened. She's like, I know you're in Montreal, but I didn't know if you might have known anybody on that plane. So I just wanted to check in on you, which I just like, like that's the
That's
type
what
of person.
friends do for friends.
Yeah. And that's the type of person Tina Landon is. So yeah, Kelly's little heart was singing for sure.
That's nice. That was that plane landing accident that, everyone survived.
Mhm.
Like at this point that you're hearing us talk about it, you have seen the footage of this plane that, landed, it, however, troubled, lost a wing, flipped over, lost the other wing, caught fire, and everybody survived. So
Mhm.
the plane comes to a screeching halt upside down and in flames,
Mhm.
and people were able to get out
Crazy.
from an upside down plane.
Yeah.
So they would have had to release themselves from their seatbelts, which, like, there were injuries for sure, and there were a few people in critical condition. But at the point of our conversation now, everybody is fine,
Mhm.
which is bonkers. I
Yeah,
hope they all bought lottery tickets.
it's funny you said that. That's what I said last night when we knew that everybody at this point was still alive. And I actually ended up seeing a quick 2-minute interview with one of the passengers who did an interview, I believe was with CNN. And she asked him that very question, like, you're upside down hanging from your seatbelt, like how did you get out? And he said, he basically said something to the effect of like, it was very chaotic in there and you just did what you needed to do. And he's like, we just released ourselves and you fell and you got up and got out. So.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was crazy because I don't know if you've seen yet, because as of yesterday, I'd only seen a certain amount of footage. But then today, I saw the footage of the plane actually landing. Did you see that?
I did see that.
That's crazy. Like they landed hard and then it's like the tail flew off, or it seemed to be that the tail flew off.
Yeah.
I don't know how they survived. Thank goodness and thank the Lord.
We were talking about it on our show this morning, and somebody texted, not joking, we weren't joking about it. But they said, what do you think happens in this situation? What do the airlines do for the people on the plane?
Right.
Because technically, they did get them to their destination.
Right.
So, what is to happen?
Yeah.
That's so. I guess we'll hear about that over the course of the next
Well, I'm sure
few
I think
weeks.
it'll be dependent on what because the investigation has to happen. They have to figure out what happened. Was it pilot error? Did something let go? Because like when I saw the footage of the plane actually landing, I'm like it landed hard. And
Hmm.
as we've seen, if you just watch any sort of movie or whatever, like in this day and age, they do have instrumentation. And again, I'm not a pilot, so I forgive myself for maybe sounding stupid, but like even though it was not a good weather day in Toronto, like very blowy, like all that stuff, you would have thought that again, if it was a hard landing, that the pilots would have been notified saying like you have 100 feet before you land. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
I'm not sure if something gave up on them where they couldn't land anything but hard, because they really
Right.
came down hard. And then like I said, it seemed to be that's when the tail flew off. So
And interesting, the ripple effect of that was a bunch of flights getting canceled
Yeah.
for obvious reasons, but some for not so obvious reasons. And the fact that the weather was as bad as it was still, it was windy and very cold. Our friend was coming back from Miami,
Mhm.
our colleague, and was an hour in the air, and they turned around and went back to Miami.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Because land. Okay.
Yeah, so it wasn't he ended up being able to come home last night, just delayed, but
Yeah.
imagine the ripple effect
Yeah.
of all of that.
And you know what's crazy too is I suppose I should have known this had I thought it through, but it was kind of eye-opening to me when I heard it because I was happened to be on the air on your sister station, Sharon, and the station I worked for at the time. And so I wanted to give updates because uh even though Toronto had to shut Pearson, that was affecting Montreal because if you had a flight, let's say to Toronto as a connection piece to some other city somewhere else, you couldn't leave Montreal because Pearson was closed. So I was mentioning that, and then I was watching our CTV news channel for updates, and the anchor actually asked like an aviation expert and said like, when are they going to open Pearson? Like, because it was confined at that point to, let's say, one runway, right? Or one area. And he
Hmm.
said they can't open it because obviously he's like, there might be weather issues involved, but he's like, all the first responders have responded to this situation. So he's like, if another plane comes in and there's something similar or something, just something, they don't have the resources to send them out there also,
Wow.
or he seemed to intone that that would be an issue. So he's like, it sounded like to me in my interpretation that the airport could not afford to have more planes land because their first responders were dealing with this massive situation. So,
Whoa.
yeah.
So how do you follow up that sort of a disastrous but happy ending kind of situation? Well, with trivia, that's how.
There's no pressure there, Sharon. Yeah.
No, except of all the pressure.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good thing that not one of these cards is about aviation.
That is
I'm
good.
sure I'm sure someone who's listening to the show right now or watching us is like, who are these two yahoos talking about aviation? We don't know anything. No, we know microphones, but it's all good.
Yep.
Around art and literature or sport to start.
Sport to start.
Here we are. Which athlete broke Bob Beeman's epic long jump world record in 1991? I feel like you should know this or know of it, maybe.
Wow.
Do you
Didn't
want
we didn't we say no pressure?
Yeah, we sent over. Do you want initials of this man?
Yeah.
MP.
I was going to make up a name. I don't know.
Mike Powell.
I was going to say Mike.
Yeah.
No, I don't know that name.
Okay.
Who does he represent? Have
I'm
it.
pretty sure he's American.
All right. Pretty sure, are you?
Pretty sure, or maybe well, with that name, it's either American or maybe British.
Oh, was that your British accent?
Oh well, not good. No, that's why
Keep at
yeah,
it.
it's funny because I randomly, as if you've been a long time watcher of the show, you know that my mother-in-law and father-in-law are both Irish, and I randomly can like imitate a few of their words,
Oh, nice.
but then it leaves me immediately. So there's no carrying on the conversation with
Oh my goodness.
um, actually, do you remember, speaking of storms, though, do you remember like several years ago, this Irish reporter became like a viral sensation because she was reporting on this storm not too far from where my better half is from, on the West Coast near Galway. And her name is Teresa Mannion. And she literally became such a viral star that they put her on like the Irish version of Dancing with the Stars
Yeah.
because because what happened is like they throw to her, right, like during the storm, and she's out kind of like Anderson Cooper when he's out in hurricane,
Yeah.
and she's kind of screaming into the microphone. And she said later it's because she really couldn't hear anything, so she was trying to make sure that it was, I guess, getting through to her audience.
Sure. And trying to even hear herself.
Yeah, exactly. And so she's like, officials are saying don't go on unnecessary journeys and stay out of the sea. And she's like, incredibly, there's people been spotted in the sea. Anyways, it's totally
Uh,
findable. Just type that into Google and have a good time because there's actually somebody that made it into a dance song, like
oh,
two
nice.
vocals that made it into like a dance version.
I'm pretty sure I've seen this, but I am totally going to watch it after this
Oh,
show.
it's so good. And yeah, so she became this viral sensation for a hot minute because, and it's funny because when I ended up going over, because I think this was like 2016, 2017, I ended up being in Ireland the only time I've been in 2018. And I like wanted to meet her while I was over
Yeah.
there as like a fellow media person. I was like, I'd love to meet her. And then I found out later that she happened to be doing a report in the same town that I was in, but I missed her anyways. And I was like,
Ah,
because I would love to meet Teresa Mannion. So.
wow. So close, Kel.
So close. Question number two, art and literature. Uh,
Yes.
Christy, Marianne, Claudia, and Stacy were the original members of which famous fictional club? You have to know this.
Have to.
You
Um,
have to. Yes.
Powerpuff Girls.
Is that a thing?
Powder Puff Girls
Oh, that's
is a
right.
thing. Um, S Club 7.
Oh, nice. No, but
Nice.
it's like a book club, like it was in a book.
Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants.
The Babysitters Club.
Dang! It was right there in the question. I should have got it.
Yeah.
Even Shadow's upset for me.
Yeah, he looks nonplussed, as my in-law would
It's
say.
yeah. He'll be plussed. Don't you worry. Hey,
Yeah.
Saturday Night Live has been making us laugh for 50 years. Or they've been trying to do that. I think that's the key. That's I think what I've determined is what I love about that show is that it's hit and miss. Not every show is a win, but the fact that they try every week is what makes it a hit. And they've been doing it for 50 years. And I think the idea of that number is wild to me. That certainly the approach of the show has been tweaked over the years. Within the celebrations over the last couple of weeks, there's been reels that have been shared on socials. Friday night was a big concert with like insane pairings. It was just fantastic. Saturday night for the slot, the 11:30 start, was the very first Saturday Night Live with George Carlin as the host. So to watch that was really cool because it was the original framework, how they intended it, but that original cast. So George Carlin was the host, but he wasn't in any of the skits. So they'd cut to him and he'd be doing some stand up, doing part of his routine. And it was cool because he's George Carlin.
Yeah.
Um, there were two musical guests,
Oh, wow.
so very of the time because Billy Preston was one of them and Janice Ian was the other. Janice Ian, an incredible voice, and she later in the 70s had another hit. Her first hit, I believe, was the song that she did that night called At 17, which if you're looking for your heart to be broken in a song, listen to that one.
Okay.
Honestly, I remember it on a K-Tel album that my sister would have had when I was growing up. She's just got such an amazing voice, but the
Yeah.
song is like, oh my God, just is heartbreaking. Anyways, very good. But it was cool to watch that
Uh-huh.
as sort of like a whole reset about this show. And then even in the show, uh, they had Paul Simon saying, "Hey, I'm going to be the host next week, where my musical guest will be Art Garfunkel, my old musical partner, and blah blah blah." Anyways, so that was cool to see that, and then to see the opening of the 50th anniversary show on the Sunday night that started at 8 o'clock and went till 11:20,
Wow.
uh, and was funny start to finish, but opened with Paul Simon and Sabrina Carpenter, which was incredible.
Mhm.
And she got to deliver a line and she got to be funny.
Yeah.
She ended up in a couple of other skits too, which was really cool. They did a very good job of taking current cast members or more recent and older members. It was just very respectful of everybody's input over the last 50 years. I thought it was fantastic and very rewatchable. Why? Because I have rewatched it
As you should.
first time around and I went back. I'm like, I just can't fast forward. I had to go to bed for the first time around because I had to work the next day. So when I started to go to the place where I had to pick up, I watched a ton more. So it was like I couldn't fast forward through it. But one of the highlights, I think, musically, for me, was Miley Cyrus and Brittany Howard
Mhm.
doing Nothing Compares to You,
Yep.
which I think did two things, whether or not that was intentional. Sorry, it did three things. And I'm pretty sure two were intentional. One to pay tribute to Prince,
Mhm.
and two to pay tribute to Sinead. And three, that Miley Cyrus would be singing that song, the song that was probably Sinead O'Connor's biggest hit,
Mhm.
certainly most known,
Mhm.
after however many years after Sinead had written that open letter to her,
Right.
telling her to, dial it back a bit, sort of for her own good. Certainly for a young 20-year-old Miley Cyrus, she was like, stick it. I'm not listening to you.
Yep.
So maybe this many years later, we've actually seen her grow up and become this incredible artist.
Mhm.
Maybe she was doing that to sort of acknowledge what was offered to her in the way of help from Sinead.
Mhm.
I like to think that, anyways.
I think that's yeah, because I was actually wondering what your opinion would be on that because there's two ways of looking at it, I guess, in a way like
Mm-hmm.
that they were capitalizing on the quote unquote feud or trying to put it in this positive light and move on and like you said, honor the both of them or well,
Yeah,
honor Sinead and honor Miley for yeah, because Miley's an incredible artist, you know.
yeah. And I don't think that Saturday Night Live is in the business of perpetuating feuds,
Yeah.
in my opinion. And I don't think that Miley's there in her life anymore. I think
Yeah.
she's grown up quite a bit.
Yeah.
So I think I thought it was classy
Yeah.
and probably classier because it wasn't mentioned. It was just
Done. Yeah.
executed perfectly. And Brittany Howard, my goodness, I saw her last summer at Osheaga,
Yeah.
and that was something, man. Her voice, it's like effortless and huge, and just it belts across the room that she was performing in for the show, but certainly in this open area at the concert that I saw last summer, and it was like startlingly good.
Yeah. That's
So good for her.
yeah, I did want to give a shout out though. I know you talked about how SNL is not into perpetuating feud. I just have to give a shout out though to Will Ferrell and Anna Gasteyer for like their Not Like Us rendition
Oh yeah,
because I actually read an interview after where Anna said they bounced that back and forth because they didn't want to ignite a fire, but it literally was the biggest song of the last year. They're
yeah,
like because of those two characters always wanting to be hip for the kids they
yeah,
kind of had to do it. And then they also chose Doechii for the same reason, especially because she's like Doechii has so many playful lyrics that they thought that she'd get a kick out of them
right.
reenacting part of it. And it was so good to see them again. Like just I love them.
And that was cool because that was at the concert, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
That was on the Friday night, which like how do you get a ticket to that show kind of thing, you
Yeah.
know? So
Yeah.
it was cool that some of the celebrities that posted to their socials, like Andy Cohen and Anderson Cooper, were there,
Mhm.
and everybody was blown away by everybody that got to perform that night. So I think an anniversary for the ages, that's for sure. Adam Sandler did a great song in
Yeah.
the show on Sunday night that basically paid tribute to the show cast members over the years, and even he got emotional in the song. It was incredible, and basically said in the song that we all thought we were the best cast. Each cast thought they were the best cast, and truly the best cast was the first season because they got it started.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And incredible. The fact that Steve Martin is 79
Yeah.
shouldn't be surprising. It shouldn't be, considering the show that he was on that
Mhm.
is 50 years old. So but I think I've determined what's surprising to me is that he's been a gray-haired man as long as we've known him.
Yeah. Hmm.
So maybe he's always just come off as younger, but 79, he's doing well. And I think that the whole show was my favorite thing, but one of my favorite things
Hmm.
was Eddie Murphy. Getting to see Eddie Murphy do that kind of a thing was amazing. It's such a gift. It's been so long since we've seen that, right? Or since he was a cast member, anyways, 40 plus years. that him doing Tracy Morgan in
Yeah.
character beside Tracy Morgan as another character. And he was just spot on
Yeah.
that it made my heart happy. I laughed out loud many times throughout those 3.5 hours. So it just felt good. As a lifelong fan, as long as I've been allowed to watch Saturday Night Live since I was a kid, um, it it made me happy to be a part. I felt like I was a part of it, which I think,
Well,
you know, is
I think that in a way, this is the ultimate high school reunion
yeah,
for everybody, right? Like it just is because like there it's all like a reunion for them, for all each of their cast to see each other again, to be in their and then even like seeing the people they might have looked up to in seasons before them, like
yeah.
I
Oh
think that
yeah.
plays a
And
part.
that was cool too when they showed the audience because they did a question and answer with Tina Fey and Amy Poehler that you're looking in the audience, you're like, is that, and it was, because if you thought it was
Yeah. Yeah.
whoever, I just thought it was great.
Yeah.
So happy anniversary to Saturday Night Live.
Yes.
We talked about one of the Backstreet Boys having to apologize for an outfit choice. AJ McLean is apologizing for one really bad look that he unveiled when they went to the Grammys for the first time back in 1999. He says, the four fellas were in darker, really nice suits, and I look like a washed up magician. I was in all white with a white top hat, the dumbest facial hair design I ever came up with. But all those looks are back with a vengeance now. We only had to wait 26 years for that to happen.
He's so cool. Like, he totally gets it. He's aware of the fashion choices he made. But it's funny because I they in the article we saw they showed a picture of that, with him and the four guys in
Mm-hmm.
black and like yes, you see what he's talking about, but I also at the time thought he looked super cool. I
Of
was like
course.
I'm like he looks original. Like he's not because at the time obviously boy bands that you all dress alike or there's some version like you're all in the
Yeah.
same hue or
Yeah.
whatever. And I just thought it was like, look at him because he was the bad boy, right, in the group. So,
Oh, yeah.
and then he was wearing all white, which was hilarious. So,
Do you know it says bad boy? Top hat and
yeah,
cane.
exactly.
Keep that in mind, everybody. If you're
Yeah.
looking to bring some edge to your club adventure, top hat.
Yeah. What's funny too is about bad boys, and I'm sure obviously some of the bad boys are like quote unquote legit bad boys, but I almost find now, like 30 years later, you look at the bad boys of certain groups, and they're the ones with the biggest hearts, like Donnie Wahlberg. Like
Right.
he's the most sensitive, like one of the bunch. He's the reason they're back together and like, and have been since 2008. And then you look at AJ and like he's done so much work to get sober and all that stuff. And he really is like such a lovely, sensitive person. Like I've been so fortunate to interview him and you just know that he really loves the guys and cares about the band and cares about being a dad. And yeah, like it's like they're the teddy bears, even though they're the bad boys.
Yep. They all had to have a role, right?
Yep.
So the reason why we know any of this apology for the outfit is because it's part of what is the 90's boy band boom, which is a documentary on the CW, or it's coming to the CW, which even reference to the CW is very throwback. So hopefully it'll stream somewhere where we can all see it.
Yes. I hope so.
Yes. So you think you might be ready for a 90's rewind?
Ready, Sharon.
Ready. We're going straight into the midsection
Hmm.
of our favorite decade. You know, it's all the right things. It's hard in the right places, got little soft spots, things like that. Topping the charts around this time in 1995 were TLC and Creep. And there was a window of a couple of years where there were three songs called Creep by three different bands. Kind of that, I think that's the magic of our favorite decade.
Yeah.
You got your Stone Temple Pilots,
Hmm.
you got your Radioheads, and you got your TLCs. Talking about Madonna before, and Take a Bow was something that we were rather enjoying. That would have been the soft spot of our midsection of this decade, along with Boys to Men on Bended Knee.
Perfect.
See, I think at their age now, they can't get on their bended knee. It's going to be harder to get up.
Yeah.
Eni Kamoze. Here come the hot step up.
That's your like
Murderer.
jam. That's your favorite. That's like one of your favorite 90's jams, is it
I
not?
do like that song because it makes me do that.
Do that.
It just, I mean, it really resets, you know?
Yeah,
How about REM and their Monster album? I mean, it was a big album, but it was just called Monster.
it was.
And the fun thing for me, in retrospect of that album, the one before it, Automatic for the People, one of my favorite albums. It's just very good. And that was at a time where it was a more acoustic album, not necessarily down tempo, just more acoustic in sound. But everybody else was grunging it up. Like there was really fuzzy guitars, good stuff. And then some of those bands were doing unplugged things the following year, and that's when REM plugged it back in and released the Monster album, which was just real crunchy, great guitars. So Bang and Blame is the highlight from that album, at least for around this time in 1995. And Dion Ferris will wrap it up for us. Yeah, I know.
Such a good song.
So sing-alongable.
Oh,
And it's okay to have it in your head on repeat.
it's really okay.
Yeah. So that's your 90s rewind.
Good question for you, Sharon. Automatic for the People, was that 92?
Yeah.
Okay. So then three years later came Monster.
Yeah, bro.
Okay, very good. I love it. Before you wrap up the show, we have a question to go with the whole SNL sitch.
Yes.
And I realize I probably should have prefaced this with you before we started recording, but I know you'll come up with a good answer. In the 90s, who were a couple of your favorite cast members from SNL during the 90s?
Yeah, you should have given me a heads up on that because of my brain. Um, Cast members 90s. Would that be a Will Ferrell time?
That would be, I believe, or was he tail end of it, maybe? I know, like, I will vote for Anna Gasteyer. Yeah, it would have been because Anna Gasteyer, Will Ferrell, right? For the cult.
Right. Yeah.
So,
How about Adam Sandler? That
yeah,
cast was
yeah, and
incredible.
and I believe you are also a Molly Shannon fan.
Oh my gosh, she was on it
Yeah.
on the anniversary show. Of course, yeah, because I was in New York City in the early 90s. Didn't get into the Saturday Night Live, but we waited outside in 30 Rock for them to come out.
Okay.
And so somewhere in my house, I have pictures with Mike Myers, Adam Sandler, David Spade, um, a bunch of them because we just waited to see, and they were so just nice people that were like, "Come on, let's take a picture,"
That's
whatever.
great.
Yeah, yeah. So Adam Sandler was on that. Sherry O'Terry, I love. So yeah, probably that cast 95 around. Yeah,
Yeah.
but they all brought something though, man, like
Good.
memorable characters and the fact that they committed to making people laugh, I think
Mhm.
you've got me.
Yeah. And I just like a sketch from back around that time, the sweaty balls.
Sweaty balls, come on. Yeah, it was really good. Chris
Her,
Farley.
Molly and Anna, like, and it's kind of funny too, because it's almost like as the years go by, there's certain casts that do have like a power duo with the females. And so
Yeah,
with Anna and Maya, sorry, Anna and Molly, and then Maya,
yeah,
and then like Amy and Tina, like there's
yeah.
it's yeah.
There was one skit the other night that had Pete Davidson with David Spade, and they were being walked around old, like New York in the past, and how it was then, and how it grew into the '80s and the '90s, and now, and they were being walked around by John Mulaney, and it was a whole thing. And David Spade has famously turned into himself,
Okay.
so he could play a character, but he's always really David Spade. So in this, he was David Spade, and they were going through the past and all that. And then at one point, he's out of the skit, like he's not there anymore. And someone says, well, where's Spade? And he goes, oh, he went and sat down. And they go to the audience, and he's sitting in his seat, and he goes, yeah, I got a feel for it. Like it's just so him. But that's what that show has done. It's created these personalities out of these people, and we appreciate it. The fact that 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 whole cast, that there's branches of people that are friends, like lifelong friends. I think the Sandler and the Chris Farley and the David Spade and the Chris Rock group are like old friends, and they still hang, and
Mhm.
it's I like that because it's they've earned what they have now as big time celebrities, but they worked for it. Saturday Night Live is work.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And for not a
So,
lot of coin either. So
not to start.
nope. No.
Worth it though.
Yeah, exactly.
And everybody, thank you for joining us on our stroll and and hop-to-do down memory lane. It's been fun. Maybe one day, Kelly, we'll be celebrating our 50th anniversary.
We're going to be coming up on 15. It won't be long.
That's true. 15 and then another 35. How old will I be then? We'll take it one season at a time. How about
I'm with you, Sharon.
Oh my gosh. Thanks everybody for finding us, for asking us questions, for being in touch on socials and stuff like that. We appreciate it. And for passing on the good word as you always have. We love you for it. Thank you for listening to 90s Now. Still happening.